it's been going on forever, dating, things of that nature. It hasn't been. It really kind of started with the women's rights movements, and then the Industrial Revolution, actually. That's when dating started. Dating was traditionally very mindful, families involved with a purpose. In today's society now, if you don't go out and
Weird.
strange, lonely, poor thing, they need a date. They need to get out. So then when people are saying, oh, Friday night's date night, Saturday night's date night, and you're going to church or not going out on a date, yet we sometimes feel like, okay, what's wrong with me? Everyone else is going on a date, not me. Oh, it must be my culture. Oh, it must be my family. We look to kind of blame, why we're not fitting in. But dating, relatively speaking, is a very new invention. But because it's been going on for your, of course, entire lives, it's been accepted as social norms. Many things have happened in the world in the past 100 years that have become social norms, but they're well after the time of the Bible, well after the spoken word of God, well after the instruction that we know to be true to guide us on the right path. And yet, a lot of us, throughout our lives, we will more likely listen to some podcast of some 20-year-old telling us about dating and relationships than we do the Word of God, because we don't think it's relevant. We don't think it's timely. We don't think it's applicable to what we're going through right now, because we think it's so far off. I've heard people say, well, the Bible needs to be updated to modern times. I'm like, how's that going to look like? Because it's been the truth, the Word of God is truth, and out of love, if we were to change it to modern times, I'd be scared of how it would look. And then we see that in how certain groups try to change the Word of God and the meaning of what we know to be true. The social media really, I think, has influenced the generations now and the one right before us, because of the impact it's had on getting those messages out there, which we know aren't always the accurate and biblical messages. So I had to put this up there. This is the woman's brain. You don't have to agree with me, it's my brain. And then that's the men's brain. It's really important to understand that there's a difference between men and women. It saddens me when people say, oh, a woman is just like a man. Well, no, God created man and God created woman. God created man with a certain capacity and a certain role, and God created woman for a certain capacity and a certain role. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. It doesn't mean they're unequal. But God, who we know is perfect, who does everything for our benefit, created man for a certain role and purpose, and created woman for a certain role and purpose.
Yes, there is a difference.
What's the difference?
Independence is where you can do something on your own. Responsible, I think, is ensuring that what you are entrusted to do is done.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times growing up, as women, for the ladies, we're told you don't need a guy, you can do this on your own, you can be self-sufficient, you don't need. And that's the message, the whole women's movement, they're conditioning us that we don't need a man in our lives. You're good enough without a man. Well, you're good enough the way God made us, absolutely. But when we become so conditioned that we don't need a man, how is it that all of a sudden we can have a partnership and a marriage and a union with a man who God intended us to have a union and a partnership with? Simple example.
Ooh, snap.
What?
That was perfect. I hope that was recorded.
So, simple example. I got used to opening up cans of jars on my own. Not easily sometimes, but I did. I'm married, my husband comes up, he goes, honey, let me open that for you. I'm like, no, I can do it. What has that just done to my husband? How does that make him feel? I don't need him. Even something as simple as opening up a can of jar And I found myself doing that because I've been single for so long, and so now I let him open every jar. But that's the thing, is we become so conditioned to doing everything on our own that we forget our husband has a role. Our husband was made with the capacity to be the head of our household. And there's some other things that we, when we say, and women go like, oh no, not that. But that's the thing, is we need to allow our husbands to be our husbands. We need to allow him to be the man in their relationship as God intended. And we as women need to be the woman in that relationship as God intended. Again, it's not better, it's not worse. When we think as women, that is my brain. I've got 10 million things going on at one time, and one might actually be solid thought. Men are very, very straightforward. A to B, A to B. Problem, answer. Problem, answer. Where women are different in how they have a conversation. So it makes it very challenging sometimes when, as women, we have conversations, and we're like, why isn't he getting it? Why doesn't he understand? Well, because he's a little different. God did make him a little different. Not worse, just different. And we have to understand that as women and respect our husbands for the individual that God created. Okay, so we're married. When we hear the word married, what comes to mind?
Partnership.
Partnership? Oh, that's a nice one.
We're supposed to be always.
What else comes to mind when we hear the word married?
Commitment.
Commitment?
Sacrifice. There's one more. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice? Yeah, sacrifice. So we think about all those wonderful things. Now, the truth of marriage is it's work. For anyone going into a relationship and think, oh, it's easy peasy, lemon squeezy, no. It is work. You have to work at it. Just like we work at our relationship with our friends, some may be easier than others. When you have a relationship and a marriage with someone else, this is the person God has, you're together with forever, that God has planned. It is work. And you have to work at it. But, again, speaking to the ladies, we have to work on ourselves first. We have to be strong in our relationship with God, to be strong in our relationship in our marriage. And we have to keep growing that. Because if we go into a relationship thinking, oh, I'm going to change this, this is going to solve all my problems. If we go into a relationship hoping that the husband is going to fix everything that maybe was going wrong in our lives, that's not his responsibility to do that. His responsibility is to be the head of the household, the head of the family, but it's not his responsibility to fix maybe things that are in us that we are working on growing spiritually or anything else like that. So the first thing is, going into a marriage, we need to be going into it eyes open for the right reasons, with the right person, not going by that checklist that maybe we go by when we're young, but by the godly checklist that God wants for us. Because people change over time. How strong our relationship is with God will definitely help in our relationship, in our marriage. Sometimes it's difficult. So, just some things. Marriage has declined over the years, and while people living together outside of marriage has definitely increased, and we see it all the time. The average age of someone getting married is a lot older now than a couple decades ago. More children are born out of marriage and in a cohort. That means the couple is together, but they're not married with a kid. And then more children are born to a single parent. I know I've seen it grow tremendously over my lifetime. Where before, if someone was an unmarried woman, it was like shameful, and now it's like, oh, congratulations, it's like no big deal. And then nowadays, if you tell someone you're getting married, do they look at you kind of funny? Like, why? Why are you getting married? You don't need to get married. You don't need a piece of paper. Why? That's the norm now that has become accepted.
That was the answer I got before. I have a couple of friends. They said it's just a piece of paper. I'm like,
I know, right? Yes.
I actually had a friend who he just had a child. Yeah, I have multiple friends.
Oh, wait,
I said a friend.
A friend, I have one.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. So I had a friend, right, and he actually just had a child last year. And when I asked him, like, oh, well, why didn't you, marry your girlfriend before you had kids, right? Like, because he's also, like, Christian, and she is too. But, like, I felt comfortable enough to ask him, right? Right. And he was like, oh, well, they actually have a lot of benefits for, like, the government gives out benefits to having a kid prior to getting married.
Yeah.
So their plan was to have the kid then get married to take advantage of that.
Is that God's plan?
Obviously not, but like
Absolutely.
when I heard of that, I was like,
Yeah.
this is actually like nefarious. You know what I mean?
I don't even know how to respond to that one, but
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about the financial aspect of it.
Right.
I was thinking more of the commitment side of it, because the when people are getting married later in life, I hear a lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to go find myself. I want to do my own thing. I want to live my life, and then I'll settle down and get married." And I'm like, you're making marriage sound like a horrible thing. Like once you're married, it's like death for you. It's like a death sentence.
Mina says
And
that.
guys better not say
I've
that.
never said that, Maria. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love you.
She's watching the scream now, huh?
Edit it out. But when people say that, I'm like, you're looking at marriage as like it's a horrible, horrible thing. And yet that's not what God planned for marriage, for a union. God made Adam and Eve. Now there are a few people out there who are meant to have a solitary life. And that's their path and their chosen path. But God meant for there to be a family, a husband and a wife, and to have children and to grow in the church. So when all these different aspects and the way people are living their lives now, because it's become very acceptable, it's become the norm. And we have to be very careful about what we accept as normal, because probably 100 years ago or 75 years ago, it was not normal. And then you add the financial part of it. I didn't even think about that. They're incentivized to not get married. And that's the government side of it. Well, clearly they're not looking at it from the biblical side of it. But this is where we're living in now, folks. And it's so difficult to try to live the right way in what seems to be surrounded by, they're looking at us like we're crazy and we're backwards and what's wrong with you? And because I got married later in life, and everyone's like, okay, fine, you're not married, but why don't you have a kid? What? Because that was the norm. No matter what, you should have a kid, even if you're not married. But we have to hold true to what we know is right. Because I've said, and I believe this truly, I think the way society is now is a direct reflection of the breakdown of the traditional family unit. I've said that, I've really believed it, that when you don't have a mother and a father together as partners, and then children all together, then it really does impact how the children are, and then how society is. Because what is society? Society is made of us. It's made up of us and then our children and how we raise our children. And it becomes much more difficult when everything around us is it just seems backwards at times. And I don't know if you've ever felt that way, and when you're out with friends, that you think like you're the oddball out and there's something wrong with you. But when we're following God's path, we know we're on the right track. And it's not always an easy path, and that's why having fellowship together does help, so you don't think like you're the only one who is not like everyone else out there. So, what does the Bible say about marriage? God created man in his own image, and in the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Okay? And I hope I don't offend anyone, but man and woman. That's it. But that's what it is. Man and woman. If someone wants to think there's something else, but God created man and woman. For a
said that one
purpose.
time, bro.
I said in the beginning, God created man with the capacity, and God created woman with the capacity. That's where we have to. That's what we're going to go by. And then for all the ladies who say, "Oh, he still lives with his parents," a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife. Leave his father and mother. Okay. So if he's still living at home, it's okay. It's not. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with him. It's okay. There could be a reason for it. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God is doing together, let no man separate. And no man separate could be our friends. It could be influences. It could be distractions that happen so often in life. We have to be mindful of that. It starts off very small and then can grow and fester into something really, really big. And one, my mom, old Egyptian lady, but one word of advice she gave me, which I actually listened to. Don't tell her that. So she said, when you get married, what happens between you and your husband stays between you and your husband. You don't let anyone else inside your marriage. That is your marriage. If there's something with your, between you and husband that you're upset with, of course, she said, call Abuna, which we do, but it stays between you. The integrity of the marriage has to always be there. Because the minute you let someone else's opinion in, you're breaking down the trust and the integrity of that marriage. And that's really hard to do sometimes. We want other people's opinions. And they may mean well, but then we have to hold strong the marriage. So I will never tell her that's the great piece of advice that she gave me. So the current culture about marriage is it's a personal choice. You don't need to be married to be happy. You can be happy doing your own thing, later and forever and ever and ever. More inclusive with same-sex marriage. Idealism of marriage of finding the perfect mate. Does the perfect other person exist?
No.
No. Are we perfect?
No.
Right. So why would we expect to find the perfect mate? So we need to understand there is no perfect. And then focusing on what I need and what the marriage can offer me. So that sounds just like a deal, a business deal.
So that last point, one of the things I wanted to kind of address is the thing you mentioned earlier is financial issue. So how would we know when we're ready, first of all? And is it important to have a lot of money, or how does that? How would you answer that?
Well, personally, I think it depends on what to use a lot of money. That's the thing is, I think, if we're living a humble, simple life, God gives us everything that we need. I'm trying to tell my 13-year-old that. You have what you need. This is everything. Everything else is a want. So and that's part of the relationship. Like if you go into a relationship because, I don't have to work as hard and I can just coast and everything else like that, that you're not going into the relationship for the right reason. And then if you expect that other person to be like your financial, backing, but how you spend money is very important. There has to be an understanding, but you learn that about the person. If one person spends money all the time and then one person is very frugal, they're not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
That person's not going to change. So when I say, you think someone's going to change after marriage, they may not always change to what you think they should be. Finances, I've read, is one of the biggest reasons people end up in divorce, is of the financial worries.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it goes even before that is, if you're having honest conversations with your intended and you have an understanding, you're going to know right off the bat how they are, their habits. Are they messy, or do they like everything perfectly in order? Are they an A type or a B type? Are they ADD or not ADD? You're going to know that about the person. So it's not that there's that perfect person there, but I think it's really important to understand that person could be a really good person, but maybe they're not the right person for you. So I think that's really important to understand that, because there's many wonderful people, but not everyone's going to mesh together. There has to be that compatibility and that overlapping, with some definitely the core values, the core, faith and belief. A little bit of my story, since I was telling Miriam that because my husband's Puerto Rican, and I always say there was like the weeping and gnashing of teeth when he met my parents, because he was definitely not the Egyptian checklist. And people were like, well, what was it? I go, he had a gentle spirit. He has a gentle spirit. And that was something about him, that he has a gentle spirit. And yes, he grew up Catholic, but he wasn't as involved as I, would have thought I was going to marry someone who's going to be, totally involved in the church. But there was, and there was lots of prayers, Abuna, Bishop, everyone involved. But I had to pray on it, and my parents, they love him. I think they like him better than me now. But that you have to look at the person and their heart and who they are and how they are. And I'll tell you, one of the things for him is he was so committed to family. Every week he was at his grandparents' house. Every week he was helping with the garden and cleaning this and cleaning that. He never missed a week with being with his grandparents. And that to me said a lot about who he was. So you're going to look for those kinds of things. Now, did he have a nice car? No. Did he have hair? No. So you're going to look at different things, but you look at who the person is. But again, there could be a lot of wonderful people out there, but maybe you just aren't compatible. But that's okay. You don't have to be compatible. You don't want to go by checklist. Oh, they check all these boxes, so yes, I'm going to go. They're the one I want, because it may not work out.
So about the finances, it's important this is gonna sound like it shouldn't be the case,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to take into account class.
What do you mean
We
class?
can pretend like,
Social-
oh, class
social
doesn't
class.
matter. But social class matters. If she comes from a family where they would take yacht trips out, you know, on the in Fort Lauderdale Sound, and you know she's used to eating a certain type of cuisine.
They summer in Geneva.
They,
It's summer in Geneva.
Yeah.
Somewhere in
Geneva.
You have to take that into account because can you give her that lifestyle, Chris? Is that something that you can provide?
تقدر تروح جنيفا في السمر ولا لا؟
Huh?
If the answer is no, then you have to be honest about that.
Yeah.
But it's not over. Don't just think it's not over because then the ball goes back in her court. And then the question for her becomes, are you willing to give up the way of life that you had in order to be with me? You'll be surprised. A lot of women will say yes. Just because, you know, quality men are rare. But on the same token, you can't deceive.
What do you mean deceive?
A lot of men are very good at trying to deceive without even realizing they're trying to deceive. Like, oh no, yeah, I'm getting my biology degree now, but I'm gonna be a doctor and like I'm gonna make a lot of money and everything's gonna be fine, right? Because you're leading, if she is a daughter of Christ, she's gonna believe you.
Okay.
Until you realize that you getting a doctor is not in the cards for you. And then what have you done? You've had this, you've built a relationship on deception.
Yeah.
So being aware of the social economic statuses is very, very important. Like it's not enough to say, oh, she's a daughter of Christ. Her point, like what Summer's point is, there's a lot of great people out there, but you also have to be realistic. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Now, if you don't make 100,000, forget it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and the other thing, actually, I wasn't even thinking about this now, is their, when I was talking about family, is their relationship with their family. Because that's really important, it's a reflection. And some relationships with families are really good, some are very involved, you know, so you have to be mindful of all these things. You have to be mindful because, you know, oh, it's just gonna be me and him, and that's it. No, the family's there. The family is going to be there, and even if they're not physically there, they're going to have an influence and an impact on your relationship, even from afar. So it is important, you know, to have that cohesiveness and the respect of, you know, I respect your family, you respect my family. Now, you don't have to see eye to eye and everything, but I know quite a few relationships that they were interrupted, the relationships, because of the family's influence. Very, very strong influence. And then some, you know, have you heard the term, oh, he's a mama's boy? Like he does everything, yeah, so like he only does everything his mom says, and he wants me to be like his mother, and I'm not gonna be like his mother because I'm not his mother, and everything else like that. So it's really important to understand their relationships with other people, with their family, with their mother, with, you know, the entire, group. Yeah, I didn't realize when we got married that my husband's family all lived within like 5 minutes of us.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
On behalf of the ladies, because they want to ask. I've heard this complaint a lot. I've heard like, I really, really like him. He's generally successful. He's a servant in the church. He's got a heart of gold, but he's a little bit too close to his parents. How would you counsel someone like that?
Well, what do they mean by close to their parents? I mean, does he like
Well,
drop
mama's boy.
everything
Yeah.
for the mom and dad? You know?
Typical Egyptian goody two shoes mama's boy. Deacon, shamas, doctor, how would you counsel that particular sister?
That's redundant.
That one's hard because you appreciate the fact that he's close to his parents, but you also have to see, can he make that separation? Like, is he able to stand up for himself? And like, let's say you were gonna go, like they're gonna go out, is he gonna drop everything because his mother called and just said, come over for a malafaya, you know?
How good's the
I
malafia?
would.
Why would I say no to that?
No, but that's the thing is.
That's not about mama, that's about the
You know,
malokhia.
the husband, when he becomes your husband,
She can make
you
the
are his priority.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want him to ignore his family, but you should be a priority and not take second to his family or his friends, even his friends, or his soccer games or anything else like that, or hockey or whatever it may be. Did I just touch a chord with the soccer?
Yeah, that's so nice.
They'll get through.
Or work. Huh? Or work.
Or
Or
cars.
work. I mean, the relationship, you have to build a relationship, and you can't have so much influencing in there or interrupting it that now your priority is your wife is the last thing. So, you know, wives the same thing though too. You know, we get like when we have kids, the husband, what? Yeah, go feed yourself. You know, go take care of yourself. So we have to be mindful of that too. That we still have a husband. That we still need to respect him and you know take care of him as best we can. But when you're first married, it's you want to have that time of growing together, and that's how you really get to know each other. Because we, you know, Egyptians, we don't do the dating like everyone else does. So once you're married, that's when you really, really, really get to know the person. You know, hopefully you've already, you know, figured out the good, the bad, and the ugly. But now you're spending that time with that person, and you're realizing, oh wait, they're not going anywhere. They're staying. You know, so you have to be able to do that.
Does anyone have any female have any follow-up questions? Give the girls a chance. Any
Okay.
comment?
Why are the guys all asking?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Any,
Why do you think? I'm sorry.
oh, do you have something to say, Sophia?
No, I
Oh,
said, why do you think?
okay.
Why not?
Anything? All right, I have a phone.
Yeah.
What about, here's another
I'm
criticism.
already
that the-
buying.
It's about the lack of
How many
masculinity.
females are you talking to?
You know what? We don't have any female servants, so they have to talk to the male servants.
Okay.
You know, that's a big problem for us. Anyway, another, this is genuine criticism.
Yes, yes.
Genuine criticism. The lack of masculinity among modern males, even in our churches.
Yeah,
Like weak men.
yeah,
Like everything's good on paper.
yeah.
But like, I don't know. What do you think about this? I don't know. Like, are you gonna pay for dinner? No, I don't know.
That's undecided.
Well, it's an issue. We have a lot of weak men, just in the culture.
But
Generally.
you know what? Have you seen society now? They're like pushing down masculinity. They're like saying, oh, you shouldn't be this masculine, you shouldn't be a manly man, and this and this and this. And as men, you need to be the masculine role model for the young men. You need to be those positive role models. But that's what's happened in the past few years is all of a sudden men are need to be sensitive and delicate. No, I need someone who can really change the tire in my car and help me out when I need it. I need a guy. So I think society has something to do with that too, in that softness.
No, I agree. But what would you say to a woman that says everything is good except he's not manly enough? Can a woman become the man in a relationship?
No. The woman should not become the man in a relationship because that's not what God intended. God intended for the man to be the man in the relationship. When the woman starts taking over the male roles, then there's just a disbalance and a disconnect. The men now don't feel like they're worthwhile, they're not valued, they're not fulfilling their purpose and the capacity that God has intended. So we as women, again, it's not that it's worse. It's not that we're lesser than them, but God has a purpose for us. Our role is to support our husbands in any way that we can. That is what we are called to do. Our role is to respect our husbands every single way that we can. And that's what we're called to do. So it's going to look a little different with every relationship, but if a woman starts taking the manly roles, then there's going to be an unequal balance in that. Now, the men have every individual has their strength. Some people are good with finances, some people are good with something else. So, so you can balance each other out, but you're not taking the role of the man as a woman and putting that on you. Because that's not your role. Your role is to be the woman.
So I want to add on to like what he's saying regarding like weakness. You're saying like if a guy's good on paper, right? Like he has like let's
He
say,
said that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like good on paper, right? But he's a weak man, right? Does that refer to weak in leadership, weak in confidence?
Well,
Like what exactly are you
that's
talking
what
about?
that's what the woman has to look at, though.
Because that undermines everything,
In weakness, how can you respect someone who's weak?
right?
Quite honestly, if I'm getting married to someone but I think he's weak, am I going to respect him, or I'm going to just take charge and take over? And that's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Since we don't do like dating like the American way, like so to speak, how can we tell like if the man isn't like weak in leadership or like he's not just showing like he's painting a different picture than what he actually is, you know?
I mean, being deceptive, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah,
If he's putting on a good front for whatever purpose.
Yeah, but reacts like completely
Yeah, I mean,
different.
a lot of things, especially now, it's instant society. And there is something beautiful about being still and waiting on God. It's hard to do because we want answers. We feel pressure from, oh, you should be getting married, you should be having kids and and all this stuff. So we feel like, okay, he looks good on paper, this other stuff I can work with and deal with and, you know, manage myself later on. So sometimes you just have to stop and be still and then ask God and then talk with your spiritual leaders who you really trust because they're going to guide you as well. Not always your friends mean well, but they're looking at it from a different perspective. Do you really know someone 100%? No. You learn, you can be married 50 years and you're still learning something about your spouse. You're not, but are the core values there, the core belief there, the strength there, united in God. I mean, and I really can't stress that enough because God, hopefully no one ever has any challenges in their marriages, but if those challenges happen, where are you going to? Going back to your relationship with God. Are you going to go to the influencer in the podcast? Or are you going to go back to God and say, help me through this struggle, help me through this, help us through this, help me to understand my role in this relationship. Before you even get married, you need to be praying, God, show me, let me know if this is, I want to say the perfect person, but who you've intended for me to be with, and hopefully they're praying for the same thing as well. Prayer together is very meaningful. When we say, okay, they're weak, but are they willing to pray with you? Or are they too embarrassed? Are they willing to stop and say, listen, we're having difficulty about this, and they're willing to discuss it? So having that relationship and that connection, even not the American way of connection, but a Christian way of connection.
I think it's easy to see like one-on-one. Like the American way is like just to date one person and like just be. But like in our culture, we kind of go out as a group, right? And so like your relationship with that person and other people seeing that relationship, I think that they don't deceive everybody, right? So they might be able to deceive you, but like as other people see the relationship and how it is progressing, I think you'll get feedback from the group as a whole. So I think that's one of the strongest part of the way that we date versus like the one-on-one American style dating. So you were asking, how do you make sure that, that person's not who they perceive or want you to believe that they are versus like who they actually are.
And the people you're with, if they are focused on God, they're going to see it. And hopefully they'll, share it with you. The reality is, are we going to be receptive to it? Because sometimes those who tell it, we don't ever want our parents to be right. Ever. We don't ever want them to be right. And we will never tell them they're right. But when they, you're talking about a relationship and they're like, there's just something about that person, or, take your time, and we're like, oh, they don't want me to get married, and they don't want me to be happy, and they don't want me to be miserable, and all these things. But our parents have our best interest in heart. They love us. They want the best for us. We don't take their advice sometimes, but if we're with a close group of believers, Christian followers, and they say it, are we going to listen? It's when we choose to ignore everyone that we're probably going down a scary path.
So I'm still confused on this group setting thing. I'm not sure how does that work, or I don't understand the concept of like
group date. Well, it is like a group date, but like you just happen to all go out and at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that's called being friends. So that's why I'm a bit confused.
He doesn't identify that as dating.
Let's be very clear. We don't date in the Orthodox Church. We court. Very different.
Okay, what is court?
I'll explain.
We online shop.
I'll tell it to you the way
Online
Abuna
shop?
Suriel.
What is court?
The best sermon I ever heard about it was the way Abuna Suriel described it. Dating is you see someone you like, you go up to them and be like, "You look gorgeous, girl. Can I get your number?" or you see someone on social media, you swipe right, you swipe left, you reach out, you DM them. Not allowed, not allowed, not allowed. None of this is allowed in our church. Not allowed, never will be.
Okay.
She brought up an interesting point, which blew my mind, when she was talking about the history. When did all this stuff enter? It entered at the same time all the other evil stuff from the devil entered into our culture, around that same time period. Dating has never worked that way for the history of mankind, up until the whole foundation. So courting, the way it works is, you're in a group setting, you see like a girl you like, and you don't know. You just like the way she is with others. You like the way she laughs. You like the way she talks. She's beautiful to you. You appreciate that about her. There's multiple ways to go about it that are approved. You can go to your father confession. and you should honestly go to your father convention. You say, Abuna, do you think I'm ready to court? And have that conversation. If he says yes, then you say, well, there's someone I'm thinking about. This is the person. What do you think? No priest is going to tell you yes or no. They don't do that. Because they're not in the business of managing your life. Because God doesn't do that. But if you listen carefully, you're going to get information. It's going to help you make a decision.
Can you give me an example?
No, I can't. Abuna can. I would be happy to in a private moment whenever you want to talk to him about whichever girl you like. But anyway, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to find out more about that person, but not be like, hey, I want to date you. No, we don't do that. Let's say you're in a group setting and you're having a conversation with them, and you detect that she's interested in continuing a conversation with you. You don't leave the group, but in the group setting, you continue to have a conversation. If at any point you get the feeling as if she's not interested, you move on. That's probably the single most important thing. And I don't blame our guys, because our guys don't know anything about girls. That's actually a good thing. I'm not complaining. In the world, that's a bad thing. But, you know, guys don't have riz these days. Coptic guys don't have riz. And that's a good thing. That's actually a good thing. You understand what I'm saying? It's because our girls are different than the world. Our girls, no, seriously, let's get serious for a second. Hey, girls, speak up for yourselves. I don't have to say this on your behalf. You guys can speak up. So if you have something to say and it's the opposite of me, you're right, I'm wrong. Okay, I'll gladly say that. They're not going to tell you, I'm not interested in you. They're just not built. They're not built that way. They're very nice. They're very polite. They're very kind, with certain exceptions. Right? So they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way to say or let you know that I'm not interested, but I like you as a friend.
Okay.
They might not say it that way. And if you pick up on that, good. If you're unsure, you go to your friends that you're close to that are hopefully, you know, men of God, and you say, what do you think? And no one's going to tell you the truth more than your guy friends. Your girlfriends will never tell you the truth. Your guy friends will tell you the truth. And if you're still unsure, you go to your father to confession. We never go up and we say, I'm interested in you. You want to get married? We don't do that. It only happens at conventions. Trust me, I was that guy. I came in preloaded with the biblet. We don't do that. We also don't message girls privately. We don't try to talk to girls privately. And we certainly, most certainly, don't repeatedly go up to girls and ask them for their attention or their number or their private conversations. We don't do any of that. This is not just being a Christian. This is being a gentleman. The world used to work that way a long time ago, like even before I was around. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Any girl that reciprocates any of this stuff, the private messages and the DMs or whatnot, I'll tell you right now, that's not a girl for you. You want to know why?
Why?
Because if she's accepting those messages and those flirtatious DMs and those texts from you, guess what? She's probably accepting that from other people.
True.
Okay? So those are general rules. Now, if you have any more specific confessions, talk to your fucking confession. Does that answer your question?
What if you don't do any of that stuff and they all still just yell at you?
Yell at you?
Welcome to the life of being a man.
Hey! They yell at you?
You're gonna get yelled at when you marry. Just get used to it.
I like how your first reaction was to yell at them. Hey!
See what I'm saying?
Trust me.
The first thing I said here, Justine started yelling at me. Like, it's crazy.
I didn't yell, I asked a question.
I felt like yelling.
I literally asked, you have friends?
And it felt like yelling. I felt like you were being aggressive.
That's a problem with you, not her.
Mina, I kind of disagree with you.
Go ahead.
So I feel like in today's world, it's not as public, I guess, as maybe it used to be. I think nowadays it's not inappropriate to talk to people privately if it's a respectful conversation, and respectful and appropriate and mature. I don't think that that's inappropriate, especially if things are out in the light. So if your parents are aware, your father of confession is aware, and you're receiving guidance, I think if things are out in the light, I don't think that that's a negative way to approach someone. However, it shouldn't be the main way, but it can be a mode of keeping in touch and getting to know someone day to day, rather than like a more traditional, we have to have a group setting all together for us to go out. That's just my personal opinion, but again, it has to be in a mature and respectful setting or conversation, not something that's inappropriate. That to me is immature. Not through Snapchat, that to me is immature. Not through Instagram, that's also immature. But
What if you write physical letters?
Romantic.
Let me slide into your mailbox.
Snail mail.
But I think communication, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think it's the idea is that if you're respectful and you're both appropriate and mature in conversations, I personally think that it's okay, but it has to be, again, guided by the Father of Confession, and it has to be kind of out in the light that you two are talking. It's not like you're, I'm texting stuff. Like, you know, maybe initially if you're trying to get to know them, but it has to be, you know, things that are in the dark become dark. Things that are in the light are good. So I think just having that idea, I think in this day and age is a little bit more appropriate.
That's a bar right there.
It's a what?
I also have another quick question. So I want
Sorry, one more thing. I think also, to what Mino's saying though, it is true. If there's a girl who, in my opinion, if there's a girl talking to multiple guys and accepting messages from multiple guys, I don't think that's appropriate unless if she is upfront and saying, look, I'm not committing to you, but, you know, I just want you to know that that you're not the only person I'm talking to. But at the same time, she has to be mature enough to not lead someone on. It's a slippery slope, but you have to make sure you're mature enough to not lead two people on at the same time and get hopes up. So I don't recommend talking to multiple people at the same time. But you know, it's something where, again, that's where guidance comes in.
I have a question. What context are you guys talking about when you say accepting messages? Because like, is that like a, oh hi, how are you, or like on a deeper like, oh like let's get to know each other level? Because if like,
that was part of my question.
if you're just like answering like, you know, a friend's text message, like, or you come into church today, or like, you know, text messages as such, you know, I don't think like there is anything wrong with that, but like,
You've never been a man, so I can tell you with surety, because I fell in this trap, and every single young man that I talked to has also fallen in this trap. Hi, how are you? I'm doing fine. She likes me.
That's it.
That's it. I knew we were gonna get married. Now we're gonna have to. You gotta be careful with that. You gotta be careful. You're not wrong.
The other thing I wanna say is communication is so different. Everyone has a different, everyone has a different communication style. When we read something, we're interpreting it, like Mina's saying, with our own thoughts of what we want. Why are they yelling at me? Why are they angry?
Wait, so does that mean like I'm attracting the anger somehow?
No, but like you
This is deep.
And a lot of times, how you're inferring that message is how you're feeling about something, or what you're wanting,
Or your insecurity.
or your insecurities, whatever it may be.
Really
So you have to be very careful. Communication is an art. It actually is an art, and it's becoming a lost art because everyone is so used to texting, or whatever. You know, they're not having conversations. They're not having face-to-face conversations. And the more we get away from that, when we're in a relationship and there's conflict, because there will be conflict, we don't know. I'm just out. And we're like, I'm out of here. You know, because we don't know how to handle it anymore. It's like, how can I swipe you out and delete you? You can't because they're right in front of you, and they're not going anywhere, thank God. But we forget how to have those conversations, and it's like, okay, wait, I'm really angry. I have to know my emotions, how I'm feeling. If I say something, it's probably not going to be nice. It might be hurtful, so I really have to step back, calm myself down. I have to know myself before, so I don't say anything upsetting. And then by the same token, your spouse, your husband, needs to know, okay, I need to walk away right now from her and give her time and space. And that's part of the relationship of getting to know each other, because if you don't, you're going to butt heads all the time because you're not going to be able to respect the other person. So talking and texting, you know, I'm like, let me just pick up the phone. You know, I want to hear their voice. I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear how they sound. I want them to hear how I sound. If there is there'll be minimal misunderstandings. It's like, oh, I thought you meant this. No, that's what I meant. You know, so we have to be very careful when we start to get to know someone and talk with them, the method of communication that we're utilizing the most. Because you can't have a marriage through text messaging. It's not it's just not gonna work. Or through social media or posters.
Can I tell a story that illustrates exactly your point?
Sure.
So, I was dating my wife. This was the
thought you
fifth
said we
year.
were dating.
Recording?
Recording your
It
wife.
was a guy that I know.
But almost.
Dating his wife. And 5 months
Name
into the
Dina?
relationship, 5
Don't
months
worry.
into the relationship, they're already talking about marriage, right? And they care about each other, but some issues arose.
Wait, that didn't fix the issue.
Huh?
You're still talking about
The
someone that was
point
dating.
is, so some issues arose, and the issues continued to get worse and worse and worse. And she talked to her father confession, and the next thing the guy knows is the girl calls, and she says, "Look, we're entering St. Mary's fast. I'm serious about this. You're serious about this, but we don't really know. So let's take the fast and dedicate it to our, what happens next. Okay." So that was the message that was received by the gentleman. That was not the message that was given by the female. So the gentleman says, "Okay, great, all right. So we're just gonna take the fast." And so the gentleman's waiting, and he's taking his opportunity. And every once in a while he texts, doesn't hear back. He goes, "Oh, she must be taking the fast seriously. She was really praying really hard. That's why she." Long story short, still no communication after the fast. So the guy's like, "Oh well, I guess something's up." So this guy, had a conference in Orlando. So he figures, "Oh, I'm just gonna surprise her." He comes and he shows up, and she finds out that they had broken up, and he just didn't know. I want to make it very clear. The communication was so
I
bad,
don't even.
so bad that the gentleman thought that she really meant what she said. And this is the thing about women. Sometimes, especially good women, they have a hard time being direct because it's not a common thing. It's a different set of principles, a skill set. So honestly, they thought the guy was like, "Wait, what? We're broken up." But after a very long conversation, they realized most of their issues was communication. They were not properly communicating. And the whole thing between the whole not understanding what the message was being sent during the breakup or whatever was because of communication. So after a great and wonderful conversation and sit down with the father of confession, those two eventually got married. And the reason why you're all suffering with this guy as your servant is because of this woman's decision to not break up. So long story short, men do not hear what you say.
They don't hear anything at
no,
all.
wait. Most men do not hear women. I'm talking to you. Most men do not hear what you say. Okay, I want to be very, very clear. It's a very simplistic processor, the communications processor in a man. It's very, very simple. Unless you're going to be absolutely direct, men will not understand. And the other way around is men can't speak because it's the same processor. Can't speak a complex enough communication level for you to actually. It's like a baby talking to you.
There's the brain.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually beautiful. So a man will say something, and he'll say it very simply, and the woman will think it has 12 different meanings when it simply means I'm hungry. And vice versa. A woman will say something, and a man will be like, "Oh, this is so easy. She must mean this," when she means 12 different things. So and I think I did this on purpose. I mean, when you look at it theologically, help me out. When you look at this theologically, like when my wife had our kid, every little cry of that 3-month-old baby meant something different to her. She knew when he was hungry, when she was hungry. She knew when she wanted to play. She knew when she wanted to be picked up. She understood everything. To me, every single cry was the same thing. Burp the baby. It was literally change the diaper. It's the same stuff. So imagine if we both had the same brain. The human race would have ended years ago. Honestly, we wouldn't understand. So it's supposed to be different. But when you think about marriage as being the ultimate sacrament, right? Of course, communion is the ultimate sacrament. But if you look at marriage being one of the most important sacraments, is how else are you going to get to heaven if you don't realize your own imperfections? And women are very good at telling you your imperfections. Glory be to God.
But I wanted to say something to add on to what Summer was saying. It's very important that intentions are very clear from the beginning. So, boys or the guys don't mess around with girls playing around, getting their hopes up, and girls don't lead guys on if they have no intention of moving forward. It's very important that intentions are very clear from the beginning. Are you guys actually interested in each other, and are you guys trying to pursue each other, or is this just a little fling that you guys are trying to have over the summer or whatnot? So I think it's really important that you're intentional with the purpose of why you're approaching someone. And to Mina's point, when he was saying be direct, at least for the females, you do have, guys are very simple. You have to be direct. If you want something and the guy asks you, do you want this? Say yes. Don't say no. and expect him to ask again, are you sure? And then you say no again, and then he says, you say no, and he's like, okay, fine. And you're like, no, I did. You should have asked me again. But like, girls will sometimes they want that assurance of, I want to make sure he really wants me to have it, and like really ask me 4 times, but I'm going to say no each time so that he can like, drag it out.
Like 10 steps ahead. We're
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking, like, what's gonna happen? Like,
So sometimes just to cut the chase, just say yes, I want this. Sometimes Mikey, for example, he'll ask me, do you want this? And I'm like, yes. And he'll be like, okay, that's fine. Like I didn't hurt his feelings. I wanted it, so I kept it. And vice versa, if I ask him, do you want this? He'll say yes. I'll be like, okay, you can have it. In my mind, I'm like, wow, that's very direct. You weren't gonna think about no. And I'll be like, are you sure? And we'll go back and forth. No, he'll be like, no, I don't want it. So guys are much more simple. Like that picture that you had up there, Summer. Very direct, very straight to the point. Sometimes as girls, we can receive that as abrasive or negative or
Uncaring or unfeeling.
Yes, unsensitive. So be mindful that that's just how guys are, and guys recognize that girls just maybe need a little bit more reassurance in their communication.
Yessa has a comment.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing 2 sides here in terms of be direct versus don't outright state your interest in marriage. Right, so it's very conflicting. Or like interest in dating, interest in dating.
Directing your purpose. So
Because there's okay, again,
My name is Yessa.
you're stating, huh?
The concept is the same.
Must have done again.
Yes, of course.
Can't answer yourself.
I'm joking, bro.
He has a good
Again, I just wanted to clarify, not solely for my sake, but I'm sure everybody wants to hear.
Yeah.
I think the mature thing is to be direct.
I think as a woman, it's terrifying that that's the first thing you say to her.
Yeah,
It's not
your
going to be the
purpose
first.
is not
saying
let's
that's
get
the
married.
first thing you say to
It's
her.
not the first thing.
This
Right,
is
but like,
after
I'm interested.
Yeah, if you
First thing you say is your
like,
name.
weeks of like.
Yes,
Second thing you
yeah.
say
If
if
you
it's gonna-
are curious,
Hi,
like, oh, this
thank
person
you.
is nice. I think she likes me. Open up that conversation. Where do you see this going? It doesn't have to be, I want to get married, but would you be, open to us like spending or hanging out or whatever? It doesn't have to be like, I want to get married. Let's talk about wedding plans. But, are you actually serious about this or not?
Sometimes you can be very direct, and the girl will be like, "Oh, well, I don't know if you're the perfect man, or I don't know if you're the perfect person, or maybe you're not the one." Like, but at least you stated your purpose, and you're like, "Okay, I'm interested in you." It will spark an idea in her mind, and it might circle back around.
Will it or it might?
It might.
Mr. Won't waste his time. Many gentlemen don't want to waste their time, especially because there are women out there that are like
Should I sit somewhere else?
receiving attention from
One
women.
voice, one voice,
Okay.
one voice.
Hold on, can I?
And that is the thing.
Can
And
I-
that is the thing.
Guys,
Because
all
pocket
great,
men
and I
don't
think
know.
we can all benefit from hearing each other's opinions.
Wait, hold on. Yes and George finish conversation. Did you guys-
I was about to hear what you're saying. I feel like what you're saying is very insightful. Just please keep going.
No, I want to hear you guys say.
Okay.
Marley has a lot to say.
I don't have a lot to say because
Actually,
this is not my type of talk.
Whoa, Merlin's hand was up. No, you are.
Oh, actually, I asked you.
After you.
No, I was just gonna say that I think age plays a huge role in all that we're talking
True.
about. I think we have different ages here, so if we're at an age where we're both mature, we're both ready for this, I don't think there's a problem of a guy approaching a girl saying that he's interested and he wanna have a serious relationship with her. But of course, if we're younger, then this comes off as like very weird and scary, and like, why is he saying all this right now? So I
like that
think
answer.
like
I'll accept that answer.
being direct is the most like if the relationship starts
No.
by being direct and honest, it's most likely gonna continue if they're both
So then don't be
mature.
She's answering your question.
Yeah, the maturity actually, that's a very good point, the age too, because someone can be of a certain age, but maybe not quite mature yet. So you have to really assess their maturity level.
But I'm sure there's
It doesn't always
threshold.
equate to age.
My frontal cortex isn't fully developed.
Great first line to a woman. I just want to jump in before we go to Marley. I just want to jump in because in case you're gonna take us off track. I just want to say this. There are. I'm going to say it very carefully because these are real life stories. I think that the average woman is not that. Just to be honest.
It's not what?
At that level of being able to receive and give direct communication. You understand what I'm saying? I think you are. I think most people, like you said, most older, more mature people are. Like, for example, if a man that is single reaches out to you and says, "Hey, how are you doing?" How would you respond to that?
I mean, it depends on the person.
Right.
If
You're
I'm-
not interested. I'll tell you right now.
Oh, if I'm not interested,
Yeah, how'd you handle it?
most likely
Ignore
either
you.
I'm not gonna answer.
Okay.
That's it. Yes.
Listen. This is important. Listen.
Wait a second. If he just says hi, how are you? I might just reply good, how are you, and that's it, and try to end the conversation. But if he's being direct, I'll be also direct and tell him straight, like I'm not interested, or I'm just not looking for this right now. But I'll be very honest from the beginning. I won't lead him on something, or I won't keep him like wondering, oh, is she interested or not, or why is she responding, why is she not responding? But again, this is where age and maturity comes. Like it's not like someone younger or someone who's not experienced or something might not be able to respond that way.
And that's what happens. Most of the stories that I hear, that's what happens. The way it's handled is she leaves him on the red. Well, now the guy's confused. Did she not see it? Am I not good enough? That's not acceptable.
If a girl's interested, she'll respond.
100%.
Yeah, but
Period.
what if they
That's the
message
answer?
you
Yeah.
on it too?
100%.
They'll respond in
100%.
2 minutes. They got their phone dead.
100%.
I'm not saying it's incorrect, but just to be very clear, a lot, and this has happened. Hey guys, focus. One voice. A lot of the times, that's misinterpreted. And if you continue the conversation, some girls will continue the conversation thinking that it's the respectful thing to do, except they'll take longer and longer to respond. Guys will think that because you're continuing the conversation, it's a relationship. Like you have to understand that there's different advice given to different people. So the general disposition is, even though you're right, the general disposition is because most girls will not respond and be direct. And in fact, things will escalate pretty badly that has to be escalated to priests or servants, and this has happened multiple times. It's important to know that, guys, focus. You should not, as a man, you should not be texting a girl one-on-one for the purposes of marriage until you've had the conversation with your father confession. That, full stop, that's it. Full stop, that's it. And that's because we can't sit here and deliberate, oh, this person's mature enough to be able to respond appropriately, this person's mature enough to reach out. There have been situations where a guy texts and texts and texts and texts, and the girl now is afraid of her safety. Like, it's multiple times.
For safety.
No, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. So we have to understand that the safest advice has to be the church's advice, which is you're interested in someone, they're single, you're single, they're ready to court, and you're ready to court, talk to your father confession first and see what he says. That said, if you are to, as a woman, in my opinion, I agree with you, if you are to get a text from a guy and you don't know what this guy's intentions are and you've never talked outside of a friend group or barely talked at that, it is perfectly okay to be very clearly say, look, I'm not really interested, and I'm not looking to collect any new friends. There's nothing wrong with that. It is better that the communication is clear and the door is shut than to leave the door a little bit open. That is dangerous. Disagree with me all you want. Go ahead, Mark.
I think I think a lot of these conversations, especially because I'm hearing some people say, "Oh, is this guy good enough?" or like is this perfect person? And all this stuff, or even how we communicate. It has to start with yourself. So you have to be patient with yourself to recognize, am I even in a good enough place to be dating? Even if I'm interested in somebody, am I spiritually mature enough? So you have to be patient with yourself, and then patience also when you are talking to somebody or in a relationship with somebody too. So listen to your father confession, truly taking his advice. If somebody's not showing direct interest in you, or you don't know, or you're unsure, then like you probably shouldn't push any further. Again, that's just all about patience, which I think is so foundational. And a lot of people just aren't patient with themselves or with the person that they're interested in, or even when they're dating or married or whatever.
First of all, they're not patient with God.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the most dangerous one.
Yeah.
Bibo and then Mina.
It's the same question.
It's the same question.
Okay, you can say it together. Hold hands, whatever you want to do.
1, 2, 3,
go.
What is like the age for you to like approach someone and tell them how you feel?
It's different for everybody.
It's different for everyone. Up north, I know people that are 19 years old and they got married.
That's
That was
a
a lot
fact.
by the church.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
One.
It's up to, you have to talk to, if you don't have a father confession and you're not confessing regularly, please, 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 even if it's just for the sake of like you need to talk to someone, you need to have someone that can guide you, start a relationship with Fire Confession. They're the most underutilized resource, I think, in the Orthodox Church.
They won't leave you on red.
Wait,
They'll just take forever.
Even in the question that you just asked, right? Like we're thinking about it so rigidly when it's like there are people who are 30 years old who probably aren't ready for a relationship, and there are people who are 22, 23 years old who are more ready than they are.
Ooh, facts.
So it's like it's not about necessarily.
It's individual.
Yeah,
And
it's.
that's why it starts like you were saying. It's your relationship with God. It's your own readiness and being whole as a person. If you're feeling like you're not ready mentally to be with a spouse, why are you going to torture someone and get married? I mean, quite honestly,
Stay single.
Don't forget something. Don't forget something. And the devil tried to do this during the feminist era, like Summer said. I love that point. I'm gonna use it all the time. Sacrament of marriage. The sacrament of marriage. You cannot take marriage out of the church. You cannot do it. Whenever people have taken marriage out of the church, the marriage fails. You can't take a sacrament out of the church. You just can't. You can't go to Publix, get a piece of bread, and say, "Body of Jesus Christ." You can't do that. It has to be done in the church by the church rules. So you cannot divorce the church. You cannot divorce Christ from the marriage. You can't. So all these people that are out there, they'll think like, "What if the church has no business telling me what to do with my marriage? I'm gonna boss my husband around however I want, or whatever it is. Like I'm gonna beat my wife around however I want." These people have exited Christ. They've literally the last time they brought Christ into the marriage was their wedding day. And as soon as the marriage ceremony was over, they're like, "Here you go, Lord, outside the door." You don't need to literally, directly outside. You can't do that. So if you're going to end your marriage in Christ, and you're going to continue your marriage in Christ, then why not start it with Christ? And this is where y'all people mess up. Because you're like, I don't need to tell my father confession until the papers are inked. Until he's already got a ring and everything is ready and we've talked about how many kids we're going to have and where we're going to live. Then I'll tell my father confession. Oh, you stupid. You honestly need to begin it from the very beginning. Abuna, I like a boy. If Abuna knows something about this boy, he can't tell me. But you know what he could say? He could say,
I don't think we should.
you know what? You know what, Taylor? What do you know about his parents? And be like, well, I know this and this. And he'll be like, the apple doesn't fall from the tree, you know, they say that. And then he'll leave it at that. And if you're smart, he who has ears will hear what the Spirit of the Lord says to the daughter. You know
So he will drop hints.
I'm not going to speak for all fathers of confession.
Yo, we need Abuna back in here, bro. Why did Abuna leave, yo?
I'm not going to tell you. They can't tell you no and they can't tell you yes. But if they know of something that might not work out for you,
They have to know.
they have to find a way to express it. Or they might ask you questions. They're like,
Confession.
how do you...
tell you to
Confession.
wait.
Oh, they
They
tell you to wait.
and pray
Yes.
about it, you know, so they're never gonna break any confidence or anything like that, but they're very good at getting that across.
Yes.
Ideally, though, wouldn't the male or female show her true colors and like tell the person like, hey, I've been through this, that, and the third. You know? I'm too honest. I'm too direct. Okay.
You're too righteous, bro.
I'm not talking about
Like,
they'll stay for
You've got
as long
plenty
as
of
you
time.
want. It's up to you.
We usually end at 10. You've got like an hour.
Wait, can I say something that,
At least.
so, you know, when people say there's a marriage, like, oh, I got married outside of, that's a misnomer. There's no such thing as marriage outside of the church. It's not even a real thing anymore.
This guy just converted. Like,
They gave me the I like it.
it was literally yesterday.
I don't know what this guy's talking about. So, there's no such thing as a marriage outside of the church. Your flesh becomes one, and the only way, like when we talk about divorce in the church, it's literally because grace is no longer in that marriage because you guys are like not even listening to the Spirit, and that's the only way the marriage dies. It's very rare, and it's like that's why the church doesn't allow divorce in most cases. You know, so like I think a really big problem, and something you touched on, is like when people are dating, they're doing the things. Like, even when it comes to talking so much one-on-one, they're doing the things that should only be for marriage, which is not just when it comes to, like, physical things, but, like, our cohabitating, right? There are certain things there should only ever be for marriage, yet we have deviated away from what marriage truly means.
Society's deviated, and now it's become the norm, and that's what's very scary.
In terms of cohabitation, because this is like, no, I'm so serious.
The way
I'm so
he
serious
asked the
because
question.
there's like a philosophy, right? That somebody doesn't show their true colors until marriage. Right?
I don't want to get married until
So
I
how do
live
you-
with
how
them
do you,
and I
like,
get to
live
see
in
them
So
in
how
their
do you find out their true personality before being stuck with this person for the rest of your life?
describe them to ChatGPT.
No,
and have it run different,
I want to
you
listen to her
know.
with all due respect. I want to listen to her.
So So,
No, with my
I think in
parents.
the beginning, I said that you have to know the person's core values and their belief system, you see how they are with their families and other people.
Guys, one voice.
That is because
One voice, people.
the true colors, there should never be anything shot. When you marry with God's guidance and with prayerful, mindfulness, you shouldn't be, that person you're married to should not all of a sudden be a whole different person after you get married. If you're that rudely awakened, then you probably didn't go the right path. Maybe you were blinded by something. Maybe you were trying to fill in some gaps you had in your own life because you weren't fulfilled. But if someone is that surprised by their spouse after they get married, my question is, did you spend a minute with them before you got married? So there shouldn't be that kind of surprise. There might be some nuances. And I'll be snoring is one of them. You find out from their siblings if they snore, but
We're Egyptian, or this is very common.
yeah,
So like,
but it's like, or like little things like there's
does
some
Bubba
things-
snore?
And your mom?
there-
And your sister?
But
Your brother just opt on you. It's over.
One voice, guys.
There's some things that you will only know after you get married, and you'll work through them because you didn't get married just for that part of the marriage, the relationship. You got married for a
The core
much
values.
bigger purpose, to be a godly family, to have godly children. That's why you got married. Now, if they've got some idiosyncrasies like they hate key lime pie, don't deal with that.
Thank you.
He can go first.
And then,
Not you, bro.
oh, sorry, that's your point.
No. Oh, there's you. Then I'll go last.
You're good, go, you go.
I'm just,
Chris, go ahead, and then Marley.
I just talked before.
Well, I have two questions.
That's okay, Habibi, go.
He has two questions.
Okay, can men and women be friends?
What is
No.
that? What is that?
So good.
Good luck, son.
It's very, you know what?
Is that a bad question to
So,
ask?
no.
That's a great question.
The reality is that I would normally say it's very hard for a man and woman to have a very platonic friendship. Very, very difficult. I do have a friend that, I've known him forever. And he was truly just a friend, never anything more. But I can tell you that's very rare. I think it's very, very difficult for a male and female to have a friendship because what do you do as friends? You confide, you share everything, you give them your innermost secrets and they feel they know everything about you. Now, especially for women, the emotions like, oh, he knows me so well and I know you're so connected, everything else. And then all of a sudden you get down a very slippery slope. I think it's very, very difficult. It's better not to put yourself in that position where something may happen that you don't want to happen between a male and female.
It can also be very annoying.
What could be annoying?
No, nothing. I didn't mean to say.
Discussing don't be friendly. Like, you can approach them in a public
marriage
setting.
material, right?
I think like we should clarify that.
Just be friendly. No, of course not. But it means be very careful about who your friends are. I mean, same gender or different gender. And then the other thing too is like, let's say this guy is your best friend, okay? And then I'm a girl. This guy's my best friend. We do everything together, and it's platonic and everything else. And then I meet someone and I get married, but this guy is still my best friend.
That's a problem.
How's my husband gonna feel about the fact that this guy is my best friend?
And not your husband.
And not my husband. Yeah, and actually when my husband says, oh, you're my best friend, I'm like, no, you're not my best friend. I have my girlfriends who are my, you're my husband, and that's a different role. And that's a very honorable role that you are my husband, but you're not my best friend.
Okay, my second.
Were you
guys coming for George or what she said?
Both.
Just a quick thing. If you're in a relationship, you should not have a friend from the opposite gender that is your best friend. Your best friend should not be, for example, if you're engaged or married to someone, you should not have another girl best friend. I don't think that's appropriate, and for girls as well. If you're engaged or married to someone, you should not have a guy best friend. I don't think that's appropriate. It's also disrespectful to the husband. And respect is the number one thing that men require in feeling emasculated in their lives. So if you're basically saying, I don't need you, I'm getting my friendship and whatever I need from this guy, you're just here for tax purposes.
Another financial benefit.
Yeah, there you go.
That's two financial benefits.
What's the second question?
What's the second question, Chris?
As far as courting or whatever it is, I'm just gonna say dating. How long is the appropriate time frame to know if someone's ready for marriage or not?
Not a bad question.
No more than 2 years is the official church position, at least in the Southern Diocese,
Okay.
by our bishop. No
That's
more than 2
temptation.
years.
So I'm 29. How long do I have until? Because we have.
You don't have a clock.
So the hold on. The issue I have is time. That's my biggest problem.
Well, you're a guy.
What
That's
does that
impatience.
mean?
That's impatience.
Can I
Time is impatient?
Can I put a scenario in front of you?
No, it
Here's
isn't.
the scenario. You can only have 2 options. You're gonna try to get out of them, but you only have 2. One, you rush it because you feel like you're under a clock. You make a bad choice, and for the next 30, 40, 50 years, you live in agony.
I'm trying to.
Hold on, no, that's option number 1.
True.
Option number 2 is it takes another 5 years, but you finally end up with the woman that's really gonna bring you into heaven.
Number 2, 100%.
Chef's kiss.
Which one would you say?
Number 2, 100%. That's I'm avoiding number 1 at all
So
costs.
where does this concept of having it for both guys and girls? It's worse for girls. Where does this concept of an expiration date come from? Is it from God? No.
Well, I mean, I was told by.
It comes from the devil. Let's be exact.
Okay.
It comes from the devil. If the devil can ruin your marriage, the devil really likes a good deal. You know, he shops at Publix. He likes to buy one get one free. Right?
Oh, right.
That's his thing. If I can ruin this marriage, not only do I get the 2 souls, but I get any child that comes out of that marriage, I get first dibs.
Dang, this man's a businessman.
You know what I'm saying? So if I can, that's why he hates marriage. That's why he's trying to go after marriage. If I can ruin these 2, I can get 5. Remember, he's not omnipotent. He's not all powerful. He's not God. He has to be very shrewd. So he attacks certain structures, certain institutions. The institution of marriage is a threat to the devil. Why? Because it's a church and it creates little baby Jesuses. And he wants to kill those little baby Jesuses in the cradle. And the way to do that, spiritually, and the way to do that is to pornography addiction of the man, jealousy of the woman, bossiness of the woman, weakness of the man. And he sows this not after you get married. He sows it years before, when you're alone in your room watching pornography, or when you're a little girl and you're watching your mom put your father down. He's implanting this preparation to destroy your marriage when you're a child. So you have a choice. Work through your issues with the church and your father in confession before you get married. So not all your issues. You don't have to be perfect to get married. But get to a point where the church says, now, Chris, you're ready. And by the way, this woman that you're thinking about, we bless her. Or go out on your own, meet your own person, on your own timetable, spend $40,000 on a marriage, and as soon as that $40,000 is spent, you begin to destroy your own marriage. You can
How
choose.
many people spend more time on the planning the wedding reception than the marriage itself? Than the union?
Okay, but you can do both.
You
can do both.
You can plan a nice wedding and a reception, but if that's overshadowing the relationship and the couple and their future together, because the wedding reception is 1 day, maybe for some people 2 days, but the marriage is longer. So you be mindful of where your time is being invested and what your priorities are.
So time is valuable then.
You don't want to waste time.
That's exactly my
But you don't
point.
want to rush it. It's not. But here's the thing: when you're single, going back to your single days, what are you doing to grow yourself closer to God during that time? What are you doing to help yourself be patient, be humble, be understanding?
Pray.
Pray, and be still. We are not still enough. We don't stay still enough, especially now. We're so anxious. I ordered from Amazon yesterday. Why is it not here? We're so anxious for everything immediate that we're wanting that answer so quickly. And when we give time to let God be God and let God do His thing, beautiful things happen. We have to get out of God's way, and we get in God's way so many times, and we don't even realize it. And then we see the consequences. Like, well, God, where were you? Why'd you leave me? And God's like, I was here all the time. Where were you? So we have to remember that, is we get in our own way and we get in God's way. And then we wonder why God wasn't there for us when He was. So I want to kind of continue on. So how do we feel about these verses with the word submit? Or, we're cool with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? They're just fine. I mean,
we
hear this about girls, ladies.
There's a
ladies.
verse that's missing.
So therefore submit to God,
That has
resist the
submit.
devil, obey your leaders and submit.
For there is no authority except from God. We're cool with these verses, right? We hear them all the time. No big deal. No immediate reaction.
Any questions, Marina? Any comments?
Yes.
No. You can freely speak.
Yeah, you can freely
You're in a
speak.
safe
I
zone.
will not be
Yes.
offended.
Start off the morning.
I want to hear what you have to say, and then we read this. Wives, submit to your own husbands. What happens to our emotions at that point when we hear this?
They fester. They're just like shaking.
Ladies,
anger. How
Ladies,
dare you?
let the women speak,
Feminism.
especially you, Mark. I let the
Yes.
ladies speak.
I'm sorry, you're
Thank
absolutely
God,
right.
because the next line is the scary part.
What?
The next line is the worst part of that statement.
As to the Lord for the husband.
husband is the head of the wife.
I
Oh,
like
that
that.
one's more scary?
I like
Yeah.
Okay.
He said die for her.
Oh,
Okay.
she's saying that the man has a harder thing.
Gotta die
Oh,
sometimes.
it's a harder commandment than I
Right,
do.
it's a harder commitment.
The least I can do is listen to him.
A lot of times when we hear this, wives submit to our own husbands, the guys are like, yes, listen to everything I have to say.
I'm again.
Right there.
Exactly.
Yet there's more to it. And for every statement given to the wife, there's also statement given to the husband as well. It's an equal partnership. When we hear the words that wives submit, sometimes in some ceremonies, they're like, the women are like, oh no, I'm not having that. I'm not submitting to anyone. I'm not gonna let anyone rule over me or anything else like that.
Yeah, why not?
But who is our ultimate example of submission?
Christ.
Christ. And if Christ submitted to God,
He is God.
the
Son submits to your father.
Oh,
wives,
My
that
bad,
is an
yes.
honorable role for us to submit to our husbands, because that is what we are called to do. We are called to honor our husbands. We're called to respect our husbands. We're called to be mindful of what we say about our husbands. So when we're married, and if we're talking negatively or poorly about our husbands or complaining about our husbands to other people, we are not honoring our husbands and we're not respecting our husbands. And this is right. You're pointing at
I'm pointing at him because he had a question. I thought you
Oh,
were.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought you were summarizing your statement. I'm so sorry.
No,
Before
no,
you got
no.
into the next statement, I wanted to ask this question.
It's like if someone's not submitting to you, though. Okay.
No. Well, something.
Nobody submits to him.
Well, something like I was thinking about is like when it says submitting to God, it's like sometimes we wrestle with God, but we ultimately submit to God. And in a relationship, it's like you're not making a decision without your wife or anything like that. You guys communicate and sometimes wrestle with hard questions. So ultimately, you're always communicating. It's not like you can just do whatever you want without your wife.
Right,
You
it's
just
not
have
a
to accept
carte
the
blanche.
decision.
Absolutely, it is a partnership, it is a union. But I think a lot of times we hear the word submit, and especially in this day and age, society's pushing women, you don't have to listen to anyone, you can do your own thing, you don't need a man to help you in your life, and this like pushes men down, and makes them not be the leader of the family that they are called to be, that God created them to be. And then when someone asked earlier about, if the man is maybe more delicate, I guess, not weak was the word. but Softer, and the woman takes over that role, no, that's not the woman's role. The woman's role is to be submissive to her husband as Christ was submissive. And that is what we're called to do.
So how do you recommend that the girls like stay feminine and just how we're supposed to be, not how we're supposed to be, but like just more in our like womanly energy. I'm not gonna use that.
How do we embody that submissive nature?
Instead of becoming masculine and like trying to control everything in the house and stuff.
We've been conditioned to be control freaks.
Well, I don't think that you can submit to someone that's not like naturally a leader. Like the men these days are not, a lot of them are not masculine enough for me to trust their decisions and submit to them. So once they're able to prove that they are like worthwhile, trustworthy, and able to take lead, then you can submit to somebody, but you can't submit to someone that.
And a lot of guys, they get so like I see them get so excited about like wife submitting to them, and they like completely lose focus of like
They're just looking at it the wrong
too.
way, from the wrong perspective. So we can submit and support our husbands. So I heard this great example of, think of an umbrella. The husband is the umbrella covering you, and then you're the stick part holding and supporting him. So together, you're fulfilling a purpose. So you each need one another, but the wife is there to support the husband as the husband is doing his job of covering the wife as the umbrella. So we can help one another out in our role, because the more that we help out our husbands, the stronger they become in that role that God has intended for them.
Love that analogy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, from your perspective, from your experience, how is submission different or harder when you're actually in marriage?
This is not marriage.
So cute.
It's not a tug of war. So how is it different or harder, submission?
When you're actually in marriage.
When you know what, you have to look at self. We have to look at ourselves and am I pushing? And it starts from way back before you're even married. That independence or responsible. I'm so independent, I don't need a husband, but I'll go ahead and get married. All right, that's probably gonna not gonna be a little difficult. I just get married because society, everyone says I should get married. So I can be responsible, but independence to the point of I think I don't need anyone, that's not gonna build a connection. That's gonna be so hard. Submissive doesn't mean he walks all over me. Submissive doesn't mean that he doesn't respect my opinion and I just yes if it's not the right thing to do. But it's a lot of times me being as a wife respectful of my husband, praying, and then maybe by my actions and my lack of words, he will see by my behavior, because I actually have a verse that kind of mentions that. Wives, likewise be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, they without a word may be won by the conduct of their wives when they observe your chaste conduct of comfort by fear. So that to me is very powerful, that they may not be the husband I want him to be at that moment, but this is telling me exactly what I need to do to help him be the husband that God wants him to be for me.
So, like, what kind of hurdles did you have to, like, jump over or, like, experience? I don't know. Like, what did you feel like was, like, the hardest part when you came across something where, like, something more practical, I guess?
In the marriage?
Yeah.
Honestly, we called it Buna. I'm not even lying. We were running into a very difficult period, and that is the beautiful thing. I mean, I'll never forget. It was a Saturday afternoon. I called Abuna. Abuna's like, come to church, and that was, my husband not being Coptic. I mean, he was baptized Coptic Orthodox, but not growing up that way. He saw the beauty of the Orthodox belief. Like you can't have that in a church that has 7,000 congregants. When you have a personal relationship with your father of confession, you can call him. That is what is so beautiful about what we have here, and I don't think we always realize it or, like said, tap into it, as often, because there may be struggles. Now, for some, small things, yeah, you're going to talk it out, and you're going to have disagreements, and you have to be honest and be direct with them. It's like, when you say this, I feel like this, or when you say this, it means this, or does it mean this? My husband will say all the time, I cannot read your mind, just tell me. So, so he's like, can't read your mind. So, I've learned. And you're gonna have your moments where you grow together and the respect has to be there. Your husband needs to feel respected. Your husband needs to be the hero of your story.
Thank you.
We have to look at our husbands as our hero. You think of any dramatic thing that's happening and who's gonna save and rescue you, your husband has to be your hero. And if you don't see your husband as your hero, then he's not fulfilling his purpose. You're not helping.
Can you see that?
Whoa!
Sorry.
Can you repeat that? That's very important.
Your husband being your hero?
And then give the advice to the man, because there's a counter advice to the man. Go ahead. Everyone listen to this. Very important. Very important.
What did I say?
Your husband has to be.
It was like the last statement
And
you
you
said.
have to.
You have.
It was literally the last statement you said.
If
he's not your hero, he is not.
He's not fulfilling his purpose of being what God intended.
Now give the advice to the men, because we can't slap the women. We have to slap the men too. So what advice do you have about men to men about becoming leader? How does a man become leader?
Girl?
Being like God.
By being like Christ, dying for her.
Yeah.
You have to what?
Dying for her.
You have to want to go into that burning building and save her.
What does it mean to die for her, Michael?
Set the building on fire.
No, we're not gonna set
You
anything
die
on
for your wife,
fire.
that building will fire.
You sacrifice, you put her above you. You put her needs above you.
Can you give an
put
example?
Your safety above you.
He wants an example. Chris wants an
The burning building, not like it's.
The burning
No, not like a real thing, you know.
Like a practical thing, because I'm just
Like
trying
you sacrifice for
to.
her.
You're always putting her needs above your own.
Yeah, give me an
Even the
example.
dumbest
So for example,
Why do you say they're dumb?
To men, they're dumb. But that, they'll understand what I'm saying.
oh, I thought Mita was giving.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Okay.
No.
It's your job to take out the trash, right? It's your job to take out the trash. Don't wait to be asked to take out the trash. Don't wait until the day before the trash guy comes and let the trash get all the way to the top. Most importantly, when you take out the trash, you put a liner in the trash bag. Now, hold on a second. I definitely am. I promise you.
And
Every
don't leave the
single
toilet
man.
seat up.
Hold on.
What's the
Every
garbage bag.
single
The
man
garbage
in
bag.
this room,
Oh,
every single man in this room thinks this is stupid.
that's common.
Right? What's the big deal? Why is the wife really gonna? Let me explain something. Let me explain something.
Well, how is it a sacrifice?
To us, I'm giving you the most
حبيبي
practical
اسمع لما هم
example.
يتجوز.
To us,
Exactly.
it's meaningless. To us, what's the big deal for her to just put a liner in after you take out the trash, right? What's the big deal? To your wife, who thinks very differently than you, it means a lot. It means you're actually thinking about her. It means you're actually like, you do all these other things, the least I can do is put trash liner in. Like, don't leave your shoes outside of the shoe holder thingy. Till this day, I don't know what it's called. But it's a shoe holder thing.
Shoe rack.
You think it's stupid, man. A rack is not like next to shoe Afghanistan and shoe Iran, shoe Afghanistan. And listen, I want to explain something to you.
شوف في الجراج كده animal.
Focus! We as men, people put your hand down, you're next.
Barbarian.
When I'm done. We as men don't understand why this means a lot. And if we took a second to understand why these simple things mean a lot to our wife, we would actually become closer to our wife. Like, to us, we're like, why are you angry about something so stupid? It's not stupid. If you love her the way Christ loves her, Christ took off his outer garment and he wrapped it around him and he got a bowl and he got a jar of water. Do you know who did that in the household? It was the servant, the lowest of the low, usually slaves. He became a slave in his own house to serve us. We're the church. So if Christ is calling you to do that, don't you think he's going to appreciate the fact that you put a new liner in the trash can?
Or it's bring down the toilet seat so that when she sits down, she doesn't fall in.
How many divorces have happened because of that?
Just get a urinal installed in the bathroom.
Or just use like a
Bibo and then you. Bibo and then you.
Yes.
The garbage thing is important, like the garbage or like not cleaning up the
Are you-
table
she
after you're
falls in
done
that, she's
eating
like,
or anything. Because
sorry.
what's the point? Like if you're
married?
living a miserable life because you're always like cleaning up behind you, or
One
doing the
voice.
things,
Wait until you get that.
or they keep doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Like you saved their life for them to for you to continue having them live a miserable life.
Yeah.
So you have to do both. You can't just save her from the burning
As soon as you
fire.
said that, you know what I realized? I'll be the first to admit this. We as men treat our wives the way we treat God. We're all ready to die for God. Every single man here, if a Muslim comes in and says, "Who wants to die for the Lord?" We'll all be like, "Me." Every single man here. Except for some of us. We'll have it converted. But anyway, every single one of them. Every single one of them. But how many of us, all of us are willing to die for God. How many of us are willing to live for God? Every single person here. If a bus is coming for your wife, you would literally push her out of the way and take the bus, right? If it meant one of you had to die. How many of you are willing to put the toilet seat down and to put a liner in and to how about this? Don't call her by her name. Walk in and say, "I love you, baby," and give her a kiss. You know how many men don't do that? You know how many men don't do that?
Maria!
That's what she means when she says
Dying for your wife is not one sacrifice and that's it. It's like a constant state of, you know, I'll do constant love actions for my wife or whatever her love language is. So that includes if it's taking out the trash or bringing the car for her if
If
you're
she
parked
likes it,
far. If it's raining, you give her the umbrella.
Okay.
If there's leftovers, you give it
You're like
to her.
taking a list.
What?
No,
that last one.
but that's dying. That's dying.
It's a lifestyle.
So it's like you're giving up
Giving
your
her
lifestyle.
leftovers.
So guys, I'm
you
gonna
give her
tell
your
you
leftovers.
something,
Memphis
and
leftovers.
again, I'm not gonna say, I can only speak for myself, I can't speak for every woman. It's those kind, small gestures that touch our hearts, that mean so much to us. It's when our husbands do something that we didn't expect them to do, that they did because they knew it's meaningful or it's something important to us. It doesn't have to be the big, huge things. I mean, it's not the 20 dozen roses on their birthday and Valentine's Day and everything else like that.
Still do that.
I feel like that. But it's the
Hey,
fact
you had
of
one
when
rose
they,
and scroll line.
it's the simple things of when they come in from the backyard and then they say, hey honey, I saw this flower here, I wanted to give it to you. Those are those small moments that mean so much because why? It means that he thought about us. And that means so much to us with everything going on, that our husband did something that they thought about us in that moment.
I gave my wife the last 2 bites of a banana. She almost started crying. She's like, oh, this is the last banana, and you gave it to me. I didn't want any more banana. That's why I gave it to her. But in her mind, I wanted the banana. And
And you capitalized. You were like, I love you. Yeah, I love you.
Take the gifts from God.
Cut the cat.
So sometimes, the guys think they have to do something extravagant, and those are nice too, but it's the day-to-day things that show that that you're on his mind. But by the same token, are we showing them that same level of, you are my hero, you are my husband, you are the one I rely on? Are we giving him that respect always and ongoing? Are we praying for them as well as they're praying for us and praying for the marriage? That is so critical because we're very good as we're growing up praying, but sometimes we're not always realizing we need to pray for our marriage. And when our marriage is good, we need to pray for our marriage. When our marriage is having difficulty, we pray for our marriage. But praying for our marriage never stops. It is ongoing all the time, 24/7, all the time. Yes.
How often do you and your husband pray together?
Every day.
No, every morning and every night, or like
Every night.
Every night.
Every
Okay.
night. Every night. Yeah. I didn't,
I'm assuming that's like a scheduling issue, like you wake up earlier or something like that.
we both can't wake him.
What's with the talking?
Yeah, like what's up with that second question? You brought her in here. I have questions. Best to
You brought her. That's so funny.
And part of the reason we're very committed to that is because of our son. So we want to make sure that he sees that we're praying together every night as a family. Because, we've been praying every night together as a family. We started having fun with it because we'll do it in Arabic, Spanish, and English.
Spanish?
We'll have fun with that.
Oh, sorry.
And no one understands what anyone is saying at that point. Because I tried to throw that in there, but it was something that every night we, as a family, we pray together. And that's something that, even if one of us is not home in that evening for whatever, thank goodness for some, electronics are good for some things, it's FaceTime, and we FaceTime pray every night.
I like that.
So that's something that we have, we're very committed to doing, very committed.
Can I say something, go back to the submitting first? So I feel like when you read wives submit to your husbands, it's not directed just for wives. The husbands should read, like reading that verse for both partners should be putting our egos aside. I'm willing to submit to you, but the husband should be also willing to put his ego aside and not be taking advantage of, oh, she's gonna be submitting to me, so I'm gonna take advantage of that. So it's both of us putting our egos aside. We're trying to humble ourselves to make this work. And first and foremost, we both need to have the fear of God and know if I'm willing to marry that person, I need to know that I'm willing to submit to that person. Therefore, that person needs to have fear of God in him, so I know that he's not going to be leading me into something wrong. So it's not just why you need to submit to your husband. Sure, I'll do that, but is he worthy enough for me to submit to him? Does he have the fear of God in him? Is he going to lead me to the kingdom of heaven? Are we both setting aside our egos and we're humbling ourselves and we're trying to sacrifice everything just to make this work?
And that's the thing, is ego has no role in marriage. Ego, it's being humble to one another, humble to, the humbleness is so important, and not putting self first. And that's why, I keep saying in today's society, it's all about me. My, what I want to do and everything else like that, and that does not lead to good
skill sets as you grow older and get into a relationship. These are, you have to build these. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't go from being me to, okay, I'm all into a marriage and I can now just turn that off and now I can be in this great relationship and have all these great skills and relationship skills. Well, no, because you haven't practiced them. And we have opportunities to practice them as we grow. But for every instruction for a wife, there's instruction for a husband as well. Very important.
I think to add on to what Merla was saying is that, like, if I submit to this person, am I putting myself at risk? Am I, like, is there safety to submitting to this person? And I think it goes both ways as well, but in different characteristics, right? So at the end of the day, it says wives submit to your husbands, which means that you already went through the due diligence of making sure that this person is the proper person to marry. So then our egos are aside and we can submit to each other, submit to God, and not have to worry about this person taking advantage of me or hurting me or leading me wrong or so on and so forth.
Well, when we talk about love, and love is from God, is there fear in love?
No.
So if there's fear in the relationship, there's probably something missing. Because there should not be fear when you're in that relationship. Because if it's based on God, based on love, there could be some rocky moments, yeah, because you're humans and we have our personalities. But if there's fear in that, then there's something deeper going on there.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is something I want to share because yesterday we were at the Logos meeting at St. Peter's, and when you pulled out one of the verses, when it was talking about Jesus Christ and how he dies for the church, the one that was up there from you, right here, yeah. So basically, yesterday I don't remember what book it was from, but we were reading and there's this verse talking about how Jesus Christ came down, in the image of a man. And it says this: he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even the death of the cross. And I feel like even that part alone, it gives you the image that a man, the role of a man and the role of a woman in the relationship. I feel like it's the same verse, just different context, but it's still the image of Jesus Christ that we should apply to becoming obedient, becoming humble, and to the point of death.
Yes. And I think for us, death to our own self in the sense of our own wishes, our own wants, our own putting ourselves first.
The advice that I would give my daughters, I want to share with you guys, which is, if a man has not fully submitted to God, then he's not worthy of you submitting to him. This is the only way to be sure that you don't get taken for a ride. A lot of people might misinterpret that and say, oh, he has to be perfect, he has to say all his Agpeya prayers, and he has to no. That's not what submitting to God means. What it essentially means is it's his will. So if a man insists this is the way I want it, and if that's what he's going to tell God, this is the way I want it, what do you think he's going to do to you? He's going to treat you worse. But if a man really, really has submitted his will to God and says, I have these plans, I have these dreams, I have these desires, I would like for them to come true, and I would like for you to be part of that. But if God makes it known that he has an alternative, that he wants something greater, something different, then I will follow him. That's the man you go after. That's the man. I don't care how ugly he looks. I don't care how big of a fish he is. Thank God my wife believed in this. I don't care. You go after that. That is a man that is worthy of me. Now, I'll say something a little bit controversial. I'll end with something controversial. That quality in a man, in my opinion, at least when I advise my daughters, I'm going to tell them, you know how love forgives many sins? If you have love for one another, it forgives many sins according to 1 Peter. That quality in a man, one who submits to God, that should be able for you to forgive a lot of bad or not sufficient qualities, whether they're physical or whatnot. Because it is very rare, in my opinion, to find a man in your age group that has really submitted to God.
So, just a couple things. As wives, we're called to submit to our husbands as Christ submitted to God. We must respect our husbands in what we say. We must not talk poorly about our husbands. We must not be argumentative with our husbands or quarrelsome. And that's very difficult because some of us have a need to say, I told you so. So it's kind of hard not to have that I told you so. But when we do that, it doesn't elevate our husbands, and they recognize if there's some opportunities there. So I should be lifting him up, not bringing him down. So I need to be the supportive one. and not be argumentative, but be understanding, because he's also coming, he has his own personality, he's doing his own thing. The last thing I would ever want to do is do something that makes him feel worse about himself. I'm his wife, I'm supposed to support him and help support him, so I shouldn't be doing anything to bring him down. And in Ephesians it reads, be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. Sometimes I think we are more forgiving of other people than we are of our spouse. And we say, oh, he should have known better, she should have known better, and all these things, and we're more forgiving of even strangers than our own spouse. We are called to forgive one another. We should have that heart of forgiveness for our spouse. We're in this union together long term. It's not what regular society is like, you know what, when it's not good for you anymore, just get out. No, that's not, we go into a marriage with that intention. We go into that marriage until death. We make that commitment until death. So we have to keep that in mind. Have that heart of forgiveness for our spouse. Have that heart of understanding for our spouse while we're growing. And this is a journey, ladies and gentlemen. We're always growing in our walk with God. We're always, sometimes we're struggling with certain things. So it doesn't mean that, okay, I'm going to wait till I'm perfect in my relationship with God, or I'm going to be perfect, because it's a journey that we're going on together. But what we want to make sure is that person who's with you on that journey, you're going in the same direction. You don't want to be like going left and they're going right. You want to be going in that same direction. So when those bumps hit, when you have to take that detour or be recalculated, you're going together in that same direction. And one thing is, there is a lot to be said for like laughter and having joy in the simplest of things. You don't have to be taking these extravagant trips and doing these extravagant. If you can find the joy in just watching a lizard run in the backyard and run into the fence and get stuck, you're kind of good there. It's the simplest. We're very weird in our family, but we find joy in the littlest things. But when you find joy in the simplest of things, then that makes everything so much more meaningful, that you don't need to have all these other distractions. I know people who take these trips every 3 weeks and this and this and this, and I'm like, why are they running away from their life? Their life should be here, building their family together and enjoying the simple things.
I mean, if they have the finances, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong. No.
What?
I'm not saying travel to 7 continents, but
there's a misunderstanding. Summer is saying people who are too absorbed in the things that don't matter.
Okay, material things and experiences.
Not enough absorbed in each other. There really are, sadly, men and women who value experiences more than they do raising their kids. Their idea of raising their kids, don't bother me, not right now. I'm planning my trip to Greece. You see what I'm saying? That's what she's making a point of. And I'm very sad to say that's becoming the norm. Because now people are having kids as accessories to a marriage, not as the purpose of it.
Or I heard financial.
Yeah.
Financial.
The write-offs. Not the write-offs.
Is that a real thing?
But
You have more
it's
dependence.
so important to be
Dependence on
happy
before.
in that where you are. If God blesses you with finances and you can do this, absolutely wonderful. You're experiencing it together as a family. But everyone's journey is different, but it needs to be together. And that's what's so important, that it is together all the time. Any other comments? Yep.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's a great blessing, and we definitely heard the words of the Holy Spirit today that can benefit everyone listening. Also, we welcome new faces.
I hope you know you got an amazing turnout today. Everybody showed up. Everybody showed up.
We welcome Jeremiah back, and we welcome people with the new haircut back. So we welcome everyone, and it's a great blessing that you all are here today. Any comments or announcements?
I brought bagels, guys.
You did?
Oh, again? Abuna.
Two abunas are better than one.
I need your vote for summer.
10 out of 10.